that we've kind of combined together to create this shirt for this young woman. And you can see them separated because I have a black stroke assigned to each of these shapes. Now, there's a few different ways that we can go about combining shapes and fitting them together here in Illustrator. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead and show you is the Pathfinder panel. So I'll come up here to Window, and let's choose Pathfinder. Now, we have several lessons in our library about the Pathfinder panel, so we're not going to go over every single feature here in the panel. As a matter of fact, if you really want to explore this panel to its fullest, you might check out our Introduction to Illustrator CS5 course, and we go over this panel quite a bit in that course. But I tell you what, for the purpose of this lesson, we're going to kind of focus here mostly on these first three shape modes. We're going to focus here on the Unite shape mode, the minus front shape mode, and the intersect shape mode. Now, we'll also touch a little bit on a couple of these pathfinders, being the divide pathfinder as well as the minus back pathfinder. So if I want to come in here and select some of these shapes, let me hold shift and select, say, these first three shapes here. You can kind of see where they're overlapping because I have the frame edge shown here with the purple outline. If I jump into outline mode, we can see how these shapes are overlapping here. Now, a real easy way to combine these three selected shapes would be to come over here to the Pathfinder panel and hit this first shape mode for Unite. It's going to combine all three of those shapes. So you can see here that each one of those shapes has been combined here, and now instead of three individual shapes, we're dealing with one solid shape here, which is much better, and it's going to be much easier to work with for completing this final illustration. Now, let's just for a moment come over here and take a look at her hand. Now, if we remember here in previous lessons, we set that hand up on its own layer here. You can see here it's on its own layer, and it's actually layered on top of our shirt base layer. So, but if we go ahead and select both of these, and we can even switch into outline mode with a Control Y. We can look here and see that the contour of the hand where it meets the shirt is actually defined by the edge of the shirt and not by the hand. We've got the hand extended above and beyond where that shirt border is. Now, we also have here the hand on top of that shirt layer. So what we need to do here is we need to figure out a way to subtract what is behind the hand, being the shirt, from the hand itself. So in order to do that, we would come over here and we'd take a look at maybe one of these pathfinders here at the bottom. This very last one is called the minus back pathfinder. So if I go ahead and select both of these items and hit that pathfinder, we're going to select, or we're going to subtract the shirt object from the hand object, leaving us with this nice clean edge right here around her knuckles. Now, there is one thing we want to make sure and remember to do before we do this. We want to select our shirt and we want to copy that with a Control C, because as soon as we use that pathfinder, as we see here, go ahead and click that button. You're going to see it's going to get rid of that backmost object because it's subtracted it from this hand here. So now in order to bring that back, we just need to go up to Edit and choose Paste in Front. And you can see here we've pasted a copy of our shirt layer, or our shirt object, right back in front. Now, we have actually pasted it on our hands layer. So let me go ahead and just select this object here. And let's go ahead and click on this little yellow square, and we'll drag that back down to the shirt base layer. So it's back on the layer it started on. Alright, great. So let me come in here and select these other two shapes here that make up her shirt, and let's go ahead and unite those as well, so that we're dealing with two halves for her shirt here. So I've got those two halves selected here, and I'm going to go ahead and show you what the intersect shape mode does next, because this shape mode, it's going to become very useful once we get into sort of fitting shadows into some of these shapes that we've defined here. But let me go ahead and show you what it does here. The intersect shape mode is going to look at two overlapping objects and leave us only with the area where they overlap, being this area right here in the center. So if I go ahead and click on that shape mode right now, you'll see that what we're left with is only this piece of the shirt here where those two halves were overlapping. So I actually do not want to do that. So let me go ahead and undo that change here. And I tell you what, I'm actually going to undo back quite a few. I'm going to undo back until we have all of our little pieces of our shirt here. There we go. We've got all those pieces we started with here. Now, I showed you the Pathfinder panel, and Pathfinder panel's been around for a long time, but with Illustrator CS5, Adobe's introduced the Shape Builder tool, and the Shape Builder tool makes a lot of these things a lot easier to perform. A lot of these actions we just did with the Pathfinder panel, a lot quicker and a lot more intuitive. So let me go ahead and grab the Shape Builder tool. It's right over here in your tool panel. It's also the keyboard shortcut Shift-M. And notice here my cursor with this tool selected has a little circle with a slash, meaning that we can click and do nothing right now because we have no objects selected here. So I'm going to go ahead and hold down my control key and switch over to my selection tool for just a moment. Let's go ahead and select these two shapes right here. Now you can see that I've got these two shapes selected, and when I mouse over them we get this little grid of dots that highlights whichever part of the object that we're currently mousing over. Now also notice here, look, I can mouse over the part where those two objects overlap as well. So we can kind of isolate each of these different areas of the selected objects. Now also notice here that there's a plus sign next to my cursor, meaning that we're by default going to be combining these shapes. So if I wanted to combine all three of these shapes together, all I need to do is click and drag. And you can see here that I'm dragging a little, sort of a little line or a little path through the shapes here. And it's going to combine all the shapes that fall underneath that path that I draw. So if I just wanted to come over here and combine these two shapes, I could stop that path right there, and those two shapes get combined. Or likewise, I could come over here and do the same thing here. So let me go ahead and undo that and show you one other way we can use this tool. We can also use a marquee selection. Say we have several objects selected that we want to merge together. Now, maybe we can't cover all those objects with a single path. All we need to do then is to hold down our Shift key, and when we click and drag now, look, we're drawing a rectangular marquee. So we can make a much larger selected area here with this rectangle marquee. So we'll go ahead and combine all those shapes together here, and let's go ahead and combine this one and this one as well. So I'll go ahead and select both of those two. We'll just draw a path there. Let's come over here and select these two shapes and combine those as well. So you can see here we did that much quicker. We've combined the shirt pieces into two halves much quicker. Now we can also come over here. Let's select this left hand, this half on the left here, and let's hold down our Shift key and select the hand as well. So if I wanted to subtract this little piece out, and remember we want to keep this nice clean edge around her knuckles, all we need to do is hold down our Alt key. We can subtract pieces as well. So if we hold down the Alt key, the functionality of this tool is going to work exactly the same, but we're going to subtract pieces instead of add them together. So if I come over here and click on that piece now, we've actually subtracted that from the selection. But, you know, in all reality, we really don't want to subtract that. We want to actually undo that here. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this particular piece right here to the shirt piece right here to the left of that. So let me just draw a path in and combine those two shapes there so that we've got that combined here. I tell you what, let's go ahead and let's come over here and hold down our control key, select this shape, and then shift and select this one as well. And we'll come in and combine those two shapes here. Now notice here that we've got sort of this overlapping edge with the shirt that we've drawn in here as well as the chest piece. Now I'd like to trim that back just a little bit here. So in order to do that, we're going to need to come over here and unlock our neck and chest layer, and let's go ahead and hold Control and Shift and select that neck piece here. So now that we've selected that, let's go ahead and drag a path over and combine those two shapes. Now notice what happened here. The fill color for her chest piece is actually changed to white, similar to the shirt color. Now let me just undo that here. In this case, it was because of our fill color was set to white over here in our tool panel. So let me come over here and just make sure we select the chest piece first here. And you can see we're picking up on that fill color for that. I'll hold Shift and select the shirt now. Switch back to my shape builder tool, and we'll combine those two shapes. And okay, now we're retaining that skin color that we had worked to obtain earlier. So let's come over here now, and we'll go ahead and select this little piece here, and let's go ahead and select this piece here. Let's zoom in here, and let's subtract these little pieces where they overlap. As a matter of fact, let's just go ahead and combine those. Let's go ahead and drag over there. And you can see again we've inherited that same flesh color. So I'm going to go ahead and undo that here. Go ahead and deselect that. Let's go ahead and select the shirt and then the brassiere, and we'll go ahead and again combine those two shapes here. There we go. And we'll combine those two shapes as well. So we've successfully trimmed back that little shape right here where it was overlapping. Now we can come in here, we can get rid of our stroke color here, and we've got this nice white base here on which we can start building some shadows from. Now let me just go ahead and point out that there are some settings for the Shape Builder tool here, and you can get to those simply by double clicking on the tool in the tool panel. And you can see here we have some options for gap detection, we have some coloration options, and a variety of different options here. I typically leave these alone unless I'm trying to do something very specific with this tool. So I just wanted to let you know where those are. I am going to come down here and select the shirt shape here and the pants shape because I want to go ahead and combine this little sliver right here with the pants, because what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and take this this hand on this side, her left hand, and we're going to tuck that in behind. Instead of like in the photograph, it's got that laid on top of her leg, we're going to kind of hide that in behind her leg. So let's come in here and combine these two shapes right here. And that's really going to be the first step in sort of creating that illusion here. So that looks like it is just gonna about do it here as far as combining these shapes together. I'm going to go ahead and leave the head separate from the neck piece here, just for the purpose of actually creating the shadows and whatnot underneath. I tell you what, as we proceed forward from this point, we'll probably be using a mixture of both the Pathfinder panel as well as the Shape Builder tool to construct whatever shapes we need for the given scenario. So I tell you what, in the next lesson, let's go ahead and pick up where we're leaving off here, and we're going to switch back and over to creation of shapes for one more lesson. We're going to look at the blob brush and how we can create custom shapes in a very painterly-like fashion here in our illustration.